There's a lot of talk about the expected rise of immigrant detentions and deportations under President Trump. So, while recently on assignment in Arizona, I visited a privately run for-profit detention center named Eloy. I had heard a lot of negative things about Eloy before going in, that the medical care is inadequate, the food is horrible, and that it's the deadliest detention facility in the country with at least 15 deaths since 2003. So why does a place like Eloy even exist? And why are immigrant detention facilities like Eloy privately run? I'm Dena, this is AJ Plus, and we're bringing you the story of how locking up immigrants is a big business. Get this. The Department of Homeland Security relies heavily on private facilities for at least 65% of the people they detain, and they're set to play an even bigger role in Trump's detention expansion. Now, private prisons and privately run detention facilities have already received widespread criticism for their operations, which have no public oversight or accountability. The abuses reported in them were so concerning that in 2016, the Obama administration decided to significantly reduce and eventually eliminate the use of private prisons altogether. They even said, quote, they do not maintain the same level of safety and security. In other words, private prisons are less safe and more expensive than those managed by state and federal governments. I should note that President Obama's order applied to private prisons, not immigrant prisons or detention facilities. Now, these are all actually distinct, but there is some overlap in who gets detained where, and they're mainly run by two companies, CoreCivic and Geo Group. But before the shift could take effect, the Trump administration reversed this policy and recommitted federal funds to private prisons. I'll explain in a bit why this matters, especially now. But first, let me give you a better sense of just how bad these private prisons that are locking up immigrants actually are. At least 137 people died in immigrant-only prisons since 1998. A report by The Nation magazine found that people in these prisons frequently suffer through painful symptoms and die of treatable diseases. And these facilities are so unsafe that in some cases, detainees actually request that they be put in solitary confinement so that they can be protected from other inmates. Even the ACLU noted how private facilities have, quote, a particularly grisly track record of detainee abuse and neglect. Eloy, where I went, is a prime example of that. And for perspective, there are about 1,500 people housed there. The ACLU has been calling for the closure of Eloy specifically because of its repeated preventable deaths. It's just one of about 46 privately run detention facilities in the US, and unfortunately, it's not the only one that's raised red flags. So given all these issues with private prisons and privately run detention facilities, why would the new administration keep them open? Well, CoreCivic, the company that runs Eloy, gave $250,000 just for Trump's inauguration celebration. And both CoreCivic and Geo Group, the other major player in private prisons, have seen upticks in their stock valuations since Trump has taken office. In fact, CoreCivic had an immediate jump in stock the day after the election. It's up a total of 120%, and Geo has seen an increase of 80%. That's because the cost of Trump's expanded deportation plans is estimated at over $80 billion and could impact as many as 11 million people. Anyone who's undocumented in the country is at risk of being deported, and people trying to cross the border are now set to be detained for longer periods of time under Trump's changes. Meaning there's now a sudden need for more detention facilities where immigrants can and will be held for longer periods of time. So despite the little accountability and a record of premature deaths and substandard medical care, it seems we'll still be locking up more and more immigrants in privately run facilities. Hey guys, I hope you learned a little bit more about immigrant detention in these private facilities. If you want to see more from my reporting in Arizona and Mexico on immigration, make sure you check out our series. And of course, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below.